We've just opened the recent at Talbot Rice Gallery in Edinburgh. So when Charles Lyell named what is now known as the Holocene in the 1830s, he called it the recent. He was essentially saying that the last 12,000 years have just happened. So if you're a geologist and your everyday work is in the depth of time of the land and you're thinking about deep time, maybe that makes sense. But for us in our time, it feels that we're so calcified that we can't make decisions that are going to impact the future beyond our own lifespans, beyond an election cycle, and for some even beyond a financial quarter. In Nick Mangan's video, we see suspended particles of zircon. That's the oldest mineral on the planet, while a prepubescent chorister is singing beneath an ancient 500,000-year-old stalactite in Dorothy Cross's monumental projection. Today we are gathered to experience the scent of these two very different forests. We are creating this ceremony today because 16 new massive wildfires have begun on our planet today. Artworks that are positioning us firmly within the sixth mass extinction event. So we can smell the scent of the first and last forests in the incense burning ceremonies of Katie Paterson. Here we've worked with wildfire experts in the School of Engineering, and we'll get an alert every time a major wildfire is recorded by the satellites circling our planet. And we'll then make Katie Paterson's ceremony. It's a sort of a vigil for our burning planet. This is a large suite of paintings by Regina de Miguel, and she's hypothesizing on how we might ask for help in places such as Tuvalu or Great Barrier Reef, where the rising sea levels are threatening all life in those areas. And whilst offering votives as a plea for help, she's also pondering what the future colonizers of the stars might even want to save of our culture, our biology, and our humanity. We witness lichen growing symbiotically on human figures as they creep through Lithuanian forests and the sand dunes in this video of Eglė Budvytytė. Maybe it's a form of futurism or a simple reminder that we too coexist with and are part of nature. The future home of our ancestors and our children are mourned in a wall painting of Helen Cammock, while lives lost at sea are transformed into coral at the bottom of the ocean in this piercingly beautiful tapestry by Otobong Nkanga. A gentle reminder perhaps that not all have benefited equally from modernity. In the billboard work of Simon Starling, we can ruefully acknowledge the self-defeating hunger of progress as he feeds the wooden panels of his own boat to the flames, somehow never more poignant than now. The artist Micol Roubini has made a multi-screen installation in which a community's dream testimony is gathered within the context of an enormous old asbestos mine in Italy.
Mentre non ti mai pensé, sento un frastuono, un rumore enorme. Guardo fuori dalla finestra e 4 elicotteri con 4 cavi pendus sotto la pancia, che girano verso l'amianto.
So the Magic Mountain is a work that deals with what we inherit as a community over a territory that has really heavily industrialized in the past. So it used to be the largest asbestos quarry of whole Europe. Now it's under a reclamation process that lasts for the past 40 years. And it analyzes this really very dense, complex ecosystem of relation between man and land. Because on one hand, the reclamation process brought to a sort of whole new vegetation growing there on the quarry. So the mining activity is disappearing visually. On the other hand, the work deals with what remains in the oniric collective of communities living there. So I collected the dreams they have at night and staged them again for filming, just to understand what, after so many years, remains in their mind, thoughts, and conscious life. I somehow wanted to recreate this really entropic feeling you have while wandering in this very strange mountain, let's say. So I decided to have it as a 4-channel installation. It's 4 loops that are not related to one another. So you basically never seen the same things twice, or eventually after really many hours. Just to reproduce for the viewer the feeling of really wandering around in the space and finding somehow little details to understand the landscape they are walking in.
Something I've learned from making previous exhibitions with artists around the Anthropocene or around the problem of communicating nuclear waste burial into the deep, deep future is that what is most likely to endure is myth, it's play, and it's art. If you think of some of the rock art in Australia that Aboriginal peoples have made, it's 40,000 years old and still has the ability to communicate into the now. It's this rock art that also inspired Mikala Dwyer's installation upstairs. Myth, play, art, this is what humanity cherishes, and this is what will be passed on from generation to generation.
It's an installation called Diamonds, and I was trying to create a space of time using colour and stratigraphy, this kind of stripy design that's following it down the walls and the corridors as a kind of a way to suggest sediments. But in my own world, it's more of a way of creating an imaginary geology that could hold all sorts of artefacts, memory, to petrographs, to objects and structures, and then these kind of mirror diamonds that populate the walls are something that reflects the viewer as they walk past, so that implicates them into the geology and the stratigraphy.
The slash of colour in a wall painting that looks like stratigraphy, the layers of rock that geologists study, pierced by diamond-like images, sticks lashed together like scaffolding, and a stunning air-filled translucent boulder. They've all been made here in the gallery over the last few weeks by the Australian artist Mikala Dwyer. She's really creating a beating geological heart for the exhibition. Katie Paterson's second piece, detailing in fine needlework all of the flowers that are lost to us through extinction, is displayed near to some of the university's Charles Lyell collection. So you can see the journal in which he described why he was naming the recent, and also pages of sketches of his studies in Edinburgh, the Salisbury Crags, Arthur's Seat.
Geology was a new science in the 19th century, and probably its most famous and leading practitioner was Charles Lyell. Born in Scotland, Charles Lyell was famous especially for his book, The Principles of Geology, which argued that by observing things around us today, we could understand the phenomena in the deep past. What you can see with some of the raindrop specimens that we have in the exhibition here, these are Lyell's actual specimens, is the way in which they show when he was observing in North America, he could see that these were formed by hail. And this was probably due to a colder climate at the time that they were being formed than was present in the region at the time. So it shows you could actually penetrate into the deep past in quite a detailed way and understand past climates.
This exhibition really is deeply rooted in Edinburgh. It's a city that's punctuated by a dormant volcano. It's where James Hutton and Charles Lyell developed their ideas of deep time. Also in that display case are fossilized rain prints. Angelica and Mesiti had 3D scans of some of these prints collected by Lyell and by others, and they've become the inspiration for these stunning photographs and video. They're inspired by a children's game she overheard in Paris. She films people making the sound of a rainstorm like a percussive choir.
When I was showing here at Talbot Rice in 2021, I was introduced to the Lyell raindrop prints, which are part of the collection of the University of Edinburgh. And I was really struck by these vestiges of the past, or a trace of weather from millions of years ago. And that's where the work developed from. I was interested in the way a collective of people can, through sound making, through gesture, through this collective act of listening and responding to people, can kind of relay a sort of turbulence that is part of our present moment, but it's also part of weather systems. And I just was really interested in exploring what might happen when a group of people come together to produce that sound.
Angelica Mesiti made a storm out of many raindrops. And in his book, What We Owe the Future, Glaswegian philosopher William McCaskill appeals to each of us to embrace long-termism with the emblem of a single drop of rain. He says, mountains erode because of individual raindrops, and there's no better time for a movement that will stand up, not for our generation and not for our children's generation, but for all of those who are still to come. Essentially, that is what this exhibition is trying to do, position us within a deeper time frame that we might start to inhabit more naturally, embrace long-termism, and as Helen Cammock says, make sure there's a place for the ghosts to play and the children to rest. The recent is on at Talbot Rice Gallery in Edinburgh until the 17th of February 2024. You can go to our website to find out about the interdisciplinary tours we'll be running throughout the exhibition. And as always, entry to Talbot Rice Gallery is free and everybody is welcome.